Brooks County Sheriff's Department, case file BC 08301919. Victim, Willie Coleman, male, black, 27 years old. Date, August 30th, 1919. Cause of death, homicide by hanging. Suspects, mob of unknown persons. Disposition, case closed. 95 years. That's how long that file sat in the dark. It wasn't waiting for a detective with a badge or a DNA lab with a multi-million-dollar budget. It was waiting for a great-granddaughter. Her name is Dr. Kidada Coleman, and in 2014, she didn't need a warrant. Her weapon was a search bar. We like to think the truth eventually rises to the surface on its own, like it's got some kind of natural buoyancy. However, if my time in social work has taught me anything, it is that the truth often needs someone to go down and get it. Today, I want you to question everything you thought you knew about cold history, because some cases aren't cold because the trail went dry. They're cold because someone spent a century pouring ice on the embers. They weren't lost. They were buried. This is Legacy Lines Podcast, and I'm your host, Jay. Today, we're exhaling the dust of a century and exhuming the case of Willie Coleman. When you look back at the coroner's ledger for Brooks County, Georgia in August 1919, it's not just a book. It's a map of a massacre. There are 7 entries for that month, 7 men, all black, all listed with the exact same cause of death: homicide by hanging. Entry number 4, Willie Coleman, age 27. Charge, alleged assault on a white female. Action, mob. Remarks, body cut down from Courthouse Oak at dawn. No inquest requested. That's it. That's the sum total of a human life, according to the state of Georgia in 1919. 4 sentences. No list of witnesses, no bag of evidence, no signature from an investigating officer, just a remarks section that treats a human being like a discarded piece of property. Now, if you're listening to this in 2026, you might think, how did the system fail so badly? But you have to understand something. In 1919, this wasn't a glitch. This wasn't even a failure of the gears. This was the machine working exactly as it was designed to work. Fast forward from 1919 and it's 2014. We're at Emory University in Atlanta. Dr. Kidada Coleman is standing in front of her classroom. She's teaching a course called Digital Archives and African American Memory. She's showing her students how easy it is to find the missing pieces of our history using modern tools. She needs a sample search to show them how the database works. She doesn't overthink it. She just uses what she knows. She types her own last name, Coleman. She adds location, Georgia, and she adds the year her grandfather always talked about, 1919. She hits enter. The first result isn't a family tree or a census record. It's a digitized copy of The Crisis, the October 1919 issue. That was the official magazine of the NAACP, edited by W.E.B. Du Bois. She scrolls to page 12. There's a table there. It's titled Lynchings Recorded for August 1919. She runs her finger down the screen and stops at row 7. Brooks County, Georgia, August 30th. Willie Coleman, alleged attack on white woman. Can you imagine that? You're standing in front of 20 students trying to give a technical demo, and the screen stares back at you with your own bloodline printed in a list of the murdered. Kidada knew her grandfather was James Coleman. She knew he was born in 1922 in Brooks County. But James was a quiet man. Whenever she asked about his father, he'd just say that the man died before I was born. He'd follow it up with a look that said, "Don't ask me no more about that." James died in 2003. He took that why to the grave, or so he thought. Let's look at the math, because the math is where the lie starts to fall apart. Willie Coleman dies August 30th, 1919. James Coleman is born March 3rd, 1922. That is a gap of 2 years and 6 months. Now, biology doesn't work that way, so Kidada is left with 2 options. Either Willie isn't her biological great-grandfather, or someone lied on a birth certificate. She goes deeper. She pulls the actual state records. Death certificate for Willie Coleman, August 30th, 1919. Cause, homicide by hanging. Informant, J.T. Burrows, sheriff. Then she finds the birth certificate of her grandfather, James, stapled right behind it in the digital file. March 30th, 1922. Mother, Rosa Coleman. Widow of Willie. Father, unknown. Think about Rosa. Rosa Coleman was 3 months pregnant when the mob took her husband to the courthouse square. She was carrying the future of their family while the town was trying to erase their present. She delivered that baby in 1922. And when she sat down to fill out that state document, she looked at the line for father and she wrote, unknown. She committed perjury on a government document, not because she didn't know who she loved, but because she was committing her son to life. She knew that in 1922's Georgia, being the son of Willie Coleman, a man that the mob had already decided was a villain, was a death sentence. To keep him safe, she had to make him a ghost. In the legal world, we talk about witness tampering, but this was the ultimate act of protection. The witness was the widow, and her silence was the only shield she had left. I want to talk about the scale of this for a second. So between 1877 and 1950, the Equal Justice Initiative has documented over 4,400 racial terror lynchings. If you do the math, that's 1 every 3 days for 73 years. The conviction rate for those murders, under 1%. And it wasn't because the killers were unknown. The crime scenes were public, very public. They were advertised in newspapers. The jury was the same mob that held the rope. The judge was often the sheriff standing on a perimeter. And the court reporter? That was the coroner. The man who would write natural causes or at the hands of parties unknown, while the dust hadn't even settled yet. But the NAACP was running a parallel system. They were the ones keeping the real docket. The Crisis magazine was a ledger of the truth. They were building a case file for a trial they knew America wasn't ready to hold yet. They were waiting for someone like Kidada. In 2014, Kidada drives 2 hours south to the Brooks County Courthouse, the same square where it happened. She walks up to the clerk and asks for the 1919 coroner's ledger. The clerk doesn't even look surprised. She just says, "We keep it behind the counter now. A lot of families have been coming in lately." Kidada opens it up to page 87, the month of August. She finds the 7 names, all homicides. Willie is 4th on the list. But then she sees something the digital archives didn't catch. In the right-hand margin, there's a note in pencil. The writing is different. It's jagged, bitter. It was clearly added years later. Nigger got what he deserved. That's not just a hateful comment. That is a motive, returning to the scene of the crime decades later to make sure the victim stayed dead. Kidada takes out her phone. She snaps a photo. She sends it to her family group chat. She types, "Found Granddaddy James's father. He didn't run off. He was lynched." And she waits. 4 minutes later, her cousin replies, "Delete this. Now. Aunt May said that name doesn't get spoken. The bank still has his picture on the wall." That right there, that's how a conspiracy ages. Year 1, the mob kills the man. Year 5, the law kills the man. Year 50, the family kills the name, because the fear is still that heavy. By year 100, there is no victim, because there is no story left to tell. Unless one person decides that the unknown on that birth certificate isn't the final answer. It's a prompt. Kidada goes home. She opens her laptop. She buys a domain name, Willie Coleman 1919.com. She doesn't write a blog post. She uploads exhibits. Exhibit A, the death certificate. Exhibit B, the birth certificate with the unknown father. Exhibit C, her grandfather's 1948 teaching certificate. Proof that the son Rosa saved grew up to educate others. Exhibit D, a single paragraph that read, "Willie Coleman was lynched August 30th, 1919 in Brooks County, Georgia. His wife, Rosa, was pregnant. She wrote, 'Father unknown to save her son. That son was my grandfather. I am his great-granddaughter. This is the murder you filed and forgot. I didn't say his name.'" The first reply didn't take days. It took 3 hours. "Dr. Coleman, my great-grandfather was Sheriff Barrows, the man who signed that death certificate. We found his diary in a trunk in the attic. The entry for August 29, 1919 says, 'Mob came for the Coleman boy. Said, "Stay home if I know what's good for me." I did. He wasn't a suspect. He wasn't a witness. And he was a coward. I am so sorry. Another entry. Your website hit my ancestry DNA match. I'm a Coleman in Tampa. My grandpa always told us we had Georgia people we lost to trouble back in the 20s. Are we family? 6 months, 43 emails. What Kidada discovered was that Willie Coleman didn't just have a son, he had 2 brothers. And after the lynching, that family didn't just sit around waiting for the mob to come back. They fled. They left everything. They changed the spelling of their names to hide their tracks. Coleman with an E became Coleman without an E. Then it became Coleman, spelled Kohlman. One branch of the tree ran to Florida, one to Ohio, and one to the south side of Chicago. The family tree didn't die in 1919. It scattered. It broke apart like evidence after an explosion. And it took a century and a PDF to put it back together. August 30th, 2016, exactly 97 years to the day after the murder, 78 members of the Coleman family, people who didn't even know each other, existed a year prior, all met at the Brooks County Courthouse. That spot where Willie was killed is just a parking lot for county trucks. So the family brought their own evidence. They didn't ask for a monument. They bought a bronze plaque, 18 by 24 inches. Kidada stood there in the same square where her great-grandfather had to lie to survive, and she read the inscription into the permanent record. Willie Coleman, 1892 until 1919. Father, husband, lynched at this site by a mob of unknown persons, remembered by his descendants. She looked at the crowd and said, "For 97 years, the cause of death was homicide." That was true. But the cause of life was Rosa Coleman. Today, we amend the record. Exhibit E, 78 living Colemans standing right here. You can murder a man, but you cannot murder his name if even one descendant decides to be the detective, the prosecutor, and the court reporter. I've looked at a lot of files in my career, and one thing I've learned is that cold cases don't actually go cold because of time. They go cold because the last witness dies, or because the people who know the truth are too exhausted to keep carrying it. Willie Coleman's case wasn't unsolved. Everyone in that town knew who held the rope. It was unprosecuted. The sheriff wrote "mob of unknown persons" because he probably had dinner with those unknown persons the following Sunday. Rosa Coleman wrote "Father Unknown" because she knew no jury in the world was going to give her justice, so she settled for safety instead. They both filed false reports, and in a strange, twisted way, both reports saved a life. One saved a murderer, the other saved a son. But here's the thing. You don't live in 1919 anymore. The ledgers have been digitized. The newspapers are searchable from your kitchen table. The DNA kits are sitting on a shelf at the CVS down the street. Your family's cold case isn't rotting in a courthouse basement. It's literally sitting in your pocket on your phone. Rosa Coleman's silence was her alibi. It was the only way she could give her son a chance to breathe. But your silence today That's not an alibi. That's obstruction of ancestry. Your ancestors survived some of the darkest chapters of human history just so you could be here to testify. So, open the file, Google the name, say it loud, enter it into the record. Because silence was their shield. But evidence is your weapon. This has been Legacy Lines Podcast, True Crime Edition. Case file Willie Coleman, status closed by the state in 1919, reopened by the family in 2014. Every voice has a story, and every story leaves a trail, even the ones buried under a century of unknowns. If this story hits home for you, share it with someone who's got a blank space in their family tree. And if you find a name, read it into the record. Do it before the internet deletes the evidence. I'm Jay, and thank you for listening to Legacy Lines Podcast.